Alright, it's no secret that Nintendo Direct we just watched was fantastic from beginning to end. I mean, I can't blame you for being excited about any of this. Mario and Luigi is back, there's an awesome new Zelda game where we actually play as Zelda, Metroid Prime 4 is real, Freddy Fazbear Funko Pop, and you best believe the Marvel vs. Capcom fans are going wild now that Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is back. But that's not the only big Capcom announcement we saw. No. Amidst all of those games, there's one announcement that stood out to me above the Lego Horizon Ace Attorney Investigations Collection. I never thought I'd see the day. Like, I kid you not, I was expecting to see a brand new Ace Attorney game before ever seeing Investigations 2 get localized. I am actually astonished. This is seriously the equivalent of seeing Mother 3 get officially released in English for me. So whether you're a fellow Ace Attorney fan who got your socks blown off as well, or you randomly ended up on this video with no idea why this is so important, buckle up as I and tell you the story of the Ace Attorney game that I thought would never see the light of day. The year is 2011 and the Ace Attorney series has had a lot of games under its belt by this point, to say the least. The original trilogy was first released on the GBA over in Japan, but if you're not one of the 0.1% of my viewers that are Japanese, chances are you first experienced the series on the DS. These games fit right in with all the other games that Grandma could actually understand, which was the exact philosophy the game's writer Shu Takumi was operating by. And it worked. These games took off. The older audiences were enjoying their crime dramas, the younger audiences were thirsting over Edgeworth. It was truly the best of both worlds. This original trilogy is peak fiction, and it's easy to see why it was so popular. The game was simple enough for anyone to understand. Go! Most people. And of course, it had tons of funny characters and witty writing. You cross-examine a fucking parrot to get to the bottom of one of the darkest and most horrific cases in the entire series, and somehow it still feels real.
That fucking bird that I hate.
You're so engrossed in what these characters are going through. The pure talent that went into these games was more than we ever deserved. And then they fucked it. Apollo Justice was the first Ace Attorney game to be specifically made for the DS, and not only that, it was centered around a completely new character, Apollo Justice. Phoenix is still in the game, but he's a homeless guy who plays piano in a bar like Billy Joel, and has a daughter? What? This game had a lot of potential. Now that Phoenix's story was done and dusted in Trials and Tribulations, we could focus on a whole new set of characters to see even more of what this wacky world had to offer. But I'm sorry, this game kinda sucks. It literally peaks in the very first case in the entire game, which, wouldn't you know it, is the one where we defend Phoenix Wright himself. This case is genuinely one that feels like it should belong at the very end of the game, and yet we're literally fighting against Winston Payne. He doesn't belong here. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a ton of really cool new characters here. Clavier Gavin was an awesome new prosecutor and a worthy successor to the ones that came before him. He's literally a rock star, what's not to love about that? And Trucy Wright is super charming and definitely a suitable replacement for Maya. And I can't help but love the antics Hobo Phoenix gets up to. Like, he gets hit by a fucking car.
Just park the car.
Would you let go of my wheel?
Hey, come on! Hey, watch it!
Now, I focus on the characters a lot here because there's so much of what makes these games special. They just ooze so much personality. But even so, bad writing is still bad writing. The first case of this game is a banger. The second one is okay, not one of the best in the series, but you're defending the Yakuza, that's pretty rad. The third one is atrocious. There's a criminal smuggling rainbow cocoons that can cure a disease called incuritis. And if I have to watch this damn video of Clavier's guitar catching on fire one more our time. And the fourth and final case is just so anticlimactic. There's some things I like about it, but most of what I like about it is mostly just the flashback case where we play as Phoenix Wright in his final case as a defense attorney before he loses his attorney's badge. Oh shit, I didn't even mention that. Yeah, the entire reason that this game even happens, the reason Phoenix is a hobo now and we're playing as Apollo, is because 7 years ago, Phoenix Wright lost his attorney's badge because he used falsified evidence in court. This ushered in something known as the Dark Age of Law, and it kind of sets a very bitter, solemn tone for the entire game, and I'm not sure that I like it. And I'm sorry, I'm ranting. This entire part of the video wasn't even in the script. I'm just fucking ranting because it's so overdramatic. It's a fucking terrible final case because Phoenix is just like, I couldn't get you before, so I masterminded this whole thing. I made a new jury system because fuck the court. By the way, they don't use this jury system ever again in any of the other games, so what the fuck was that even about? And then it's just like, oh, I got you. I was a hobo the entire time, but I've actually been plotting something for 7 years, and Apollo's just fucking sitting there. He's just sitting there on the side, just kind of just chilling. It's his fucking game! The game's name is Apollo Justice, Ace Attorney. And if Phoenix Wright is more important than Apollo Justice in his own game, we have a fucking problem. Shu Takumi was barely involved in the creation of this game, as he went on to make other things like Ghost Trick, and the loss of his presence was seriously felt here. So in comes Ace Attorney Investigations, the game that should by all counts sell like hotcakes because the protagonist is Miles Edgeworth, the literal fan favorite character. And man, did they do him dirty here. The mechanics of this game are rad, don't get me wrong. Having the game be from this third person point of view, where we actually get to run around the area and interact with stuff, is a huge breath of fresh air. Seeing the little pixelated DS style characters out and about is super charming and fits the series super well. It's also just a really genius idea to show us what the prosecution team has to go through with these cases. There are no trials in this game, it's all fieldwork, which means it's all gumshoe baby, best character, yeah! This game had so much going for it, but the story sucks. It's just so damn boring. Something about a smuggling ring who's making counterfeit money. I know in the real world this would be a big deal, but in Ace Attorney, this shit should be like a single case, not the entire overarching plot. It's not like it's all bad since it does introduce new characters like Edgy's new assistant Kay Faraday, who believes she's the great thief Yatagarasu, and my favorite international police agent Shilong Lang, but that's about all it's got going for it. Luckily, they made a sequel to this game that's got the same exact gameplay, the same art style, the same main characters, and even more fantastic ones, and a story that is genuinely the best in the entire series. You wanna guess which game never got localized? God, it just hurts. There's a few different reasons that this game never released here. The main reason, which is the one Capcom also doesn't really want you to know, is the fact that Investigations didn't sell that well. Fucking Okami Den sold more than this game. Okami didn't even sell well on the PS2. How did a DS sequel that nobody knew about sell better than the game that had Miles Edgeworth on the box art? And on top of that, the localization team just didn't have time. They weren't in any rush to translate the game because of the first game's poor sales, and while they never stopped talking about the possibility, the team had moved on to other projects by that point. I mean, the production of brand new 3DS Ace Attorney games were in full swing, so you know those took priority. Which, you know, it's sad because even the 3DS games, you could tell that they didn't have much hope for them. Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice didn't even get physical releases outside of Japan. They released exclusively on the eShop. They didn't want to just abandon the series overseas, but they clearly didn't expect the games to sell well either. Which is a shame, because these two games are actually really good in my opinion. I feel like they really learned from where they went wrong in Apollo Justice, and they really just recaptured that classic Ace Attorney feel, even if Shu Takumi wasn't on board. Dual Destinies has one of my favorite plot twists in the entire series. Those last two cases are actually insane. And Spirit of Justice is such an interesting take on the series because we get to see what court is like in a completely different country, and the political movements going on here genuinely kept me captivated. Not to mention that this is the game where Apollo Justice really comes into his own as a character. This game might have Phoenix Wright in the title, but this is Apollo's game. This game's story hit me way harder than I could have ever expected. But I'm sure these games just didn't land on some people's radars because of how limited their releases were. Like, I think these two games could have seriously reinvigorated people's love for the series and introduced a ton of new fans as well, just like Fire Emblem Awakening did for its series. Not to mention, the great Ace Attorney games were also released on the 3DS, but only in Japan. They didn't get localized just like Investigations 2 before them. These were the first Ace Attorney games since Trials and Tribulations to be written by Shu Takumi, and it showed. Everything about this duology is immaculate. There's such a huge overarching story going on here that enthralled me. And the best thing is, this game is set in the early 1900s, so you don't have to play any of the other games to understand it. Meanwhile, with Investigations 2, you have to trudge through the worst game in the series to understand the best in the series. There would be no merit to localizing this game from a business perspective. It just won't happen. But then Capcom said, fuck it. They have all of these IPs that make them stacks upon stacks of cash. No matter what, they'll be swimming in money. So why not give it a try? Why not try giving the Ace Attorney fans what they want? In 2019, the original Ace Attorney trilogy was released on modern consoles, remastered in HD, and this was the start of something amazing. People who played the games back in the day bought it because, hey, I know that guy, and in my case, I just finished the entire Danganronpa trilogy and had heard that these games were similar, so I thought I'd give them a go. And just like that, myself and so many others fell in love with this series. I was here playing this game and deadass wondering if I should pursue a career as a lawyer. No, I shouldn't. And then in 2021, something even more amazing happened. The great Ace Attorney games got officially localized. These games that we thought would be trapped in Japan, on the 3DS no less, were finally in English for everyone to play. And what a way to end my Ace Attorney journey that game was. I loved the aesthetic so much. Being in London in the early 1900s and facing off against a xenophobic prosecutor, you get to interrogate multiple witnesses at the same time in court so you can compare and contrast their testimonies. There's an actual jury system in this game, so you have to appeal to all 6 of these people in order to get them on your side. It's not just the judge slamming down the hammer and that's it. And arguably, my favorite thing in the entire game is the dance of deductions that you do with Herlock Sholmes. They are so fun, so classy, so visually appealing. The way the spotlight just appears on shit, it's so cool. And just dealing with Sholmes is pure dumbassery and having to correct him. He is my favorite character in the entire game, bar none. This gave the community hope. If this can happen, maybe Investigations 2 can happen. 2023, they announced that the Apollo Justice trilogy is getting re-released. Alright, that's only to be expected. Those are fairly easy to port over, all things considered, and so many more people will be able to experience these great, not you, games. And of course, well, you know how this ends. Investigations 2 is the best game in the entire series, hands down. The overarching plot is done leagues better than Investigations 1. You actually care about what's happening. It even ties directly into the DL6 incident from the very first game in the series. The gameplay, oh, it's so fun to enter a game of logic chess with your opponents and break down their defenses. No more silly supernatural gimmicks like Phoenix or Apollo. Edgeworth is just big brain. Watching Sebastian the Best go from a pampered coward to one of the best characters in the entire game, seeing Raymond Shields walk the path of Gregory Edgeworth before him, it's beautiful. This is a game truly worthy of the Miles Edgeworth name. Who the fuck is Eddie Fender? Oh yeah, we knew this was coming. This was the biggest issue of localizing the game. All of us hardcore Ace Attorney fans are so used to the fan translation that's been around since 2015 or so. As such, we're just so used to these characters being named Raymond Shields or Sebastian the Best. But now their official names are Eddie Fender and Eustace Winner. Eustace Winner. Look, you can't be upset at Capcom for this, you know? These names were never official to begin with. It's not like they're taking anything away from us. We'll get used to these names in due time. I mean, the same exact thing happened with the Great Ace Attorney. Like, yes, Eddie Fender is a goofy-ass name. He sounds like a fucking guitar. But come on, it's Ace Attorney. It's to be expected. Just be happy, man. This game is finally available for everyone to play. You don't have to jump through all these hoops to emulate the game and play a fan translation anymore. You'll be able to just just play the game on your Switch or what have you, and it's real. Not to mention the new chibi art style they got going on. It was a little hard for me to adjust at first, but I'm actually starting to like it. But most of all, the thing that truly makes this special, this is the last game to star Detective Dick Gumshoe. He's back, and the Ace Attorney Twitter account acknowledged his existence. We can rest easy now. This game means more to me than I can truly express. No, seriously, I can't do it. I've tried to write a video about this game so many times, but us Ace Attorney fans have been wanting this for so long. This game doesn't have to be a game that the casual fan ignores anymore, and that is beautiful. Now give us Mother 3!